And let's take a look at how we read a birth chart. Basically, there are two different kinds of Vedic astrological charts, the South Indian and the North Indian chart. The chart I prefer to use is the South Indian chart, which is what we're looking at here. Now, the North Indian chart looks like this, and we will look at that as well, but for now let's just focus on the South Indian. And for those of you who are listening through audio only, you might need to get a book to see this, or you can go to the YouTube page in which this is listed, youtube.com/Ryan's Vedic Astrology, and find it. And it's under how to read a birth chart, basically. So, with the South Indian chart, the signs are always in the same place, meaning this is always Aries, this is always Taurus, this is always Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. They are always in these same boxes, the same area. What changes are the houses, and that's dependent on the rising sign or the lagna. So here we see a diagonal line. Various chart creators are different. Some will just have an ASC, which stands for ascendant, or LAG, which stands for lagna, but that's the first house. And in my particular program that I use, Kala, we get a diagonal line. So that shows that Taurus is the first house. And disregard these numbers here. These are Bhava cusps, and there's something different. So let me get rid of those. Okay. And so whatever the ascendant is, the point on the eastern horizon that was rising the moment you were born, that becomes the first house. And this indicates the degrees. This is 1924. First house is Taurus, second house is Gemini, third house is Cancer, and so on all the way around. And this is how we start to see what planets rule what. Well, since the first house is Taurus, well, we know Taurus is ruled by Venus, so that means the first house is ruled by Venus. If we count around, we see the 8th house is Sagittarius. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, so we know the 8th house is ruled by Jupiter. And this gets important for later chart interpretation. And it always goes in this clockwise fashion with the South Indian chart. If this sign was different, or not the sign, if this line was somewhere else, let's just edit the data here. We'll make it, I don't know, we'll say 10:05. Well, now we see that the lagna has changed. This is a different chart now, different time. And the rising sign is Capricorn, which means now Capricorn is the first house, and Aquarius is the second, Pisces is the third, Aries is the fourth, and it keeps going all the way around till we get to Sagittarius is the 12th. So this is how we determine the houses within astrology, Vedic astrology. And with Vedic astrology, you see here we have 0 degrees 26. Well, that means that the ascendant, this is just in less than the first degree of Capricorn. But even though it's just in the first degree, that first house is still Capricorn. So whatever house, whatever sign the ascendant falls in, whatever sign that is rising, even if it's just 1 degree or 29 degrees, the whole of that sign becomes the first house. And it goes all the way around. Now, when we are looking at the, let's see, the North Indian, this is a very different chart, and this is good for other ways of reading. I don't use it as much, though. If you get the book, The Art and Science of Vedic Astrology, this is more prevalent. Volume 2, which is coming out soon, hopefully by spring, we will be using the South Indian chart more. But Richard Fish, he prefers this chart. So we use that in the first book. I prefer the other chart, so we're going to use the South Indian in the second book. But how do we read this? Well, this one doesn't go clockwise, this one goes counterclockwise. And what we can see, this makes it easy to see the trines and the angles, as well as the hidden houses, the 2nd, 3rd, 6th, 8th, 12th, 11th, so on. This square right in the middle at the top, this becomes the first house. This is always the first house. So here the houses stay the same, but the signs change. Next we go to the left and we have Aquarius, Capricorn ascendant, Aquarius is the second house. Next, we go to Pisces is the third house, Aries is the fourth house, and we continue around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the houses stay the same in this chart, but the signs change. Let's give an example. I'll edit the data again. Okay, so we've changed the time. Now what happens? Now we've got Aquarius as the first house, and then Pisces becomes the second house, Aries becomes the third house. So again, this is the first house, this is the second house, so this is all the same. This top diamond is the first, but now the signs change. So again, this is different for different things. This makes it very easy to see the angles. This is the first house, the fourth house, the seventh, and the 10th. So these are all the angles. The diamonds right in the middle of this chart are the angles. The trines are easy to see. First house is a trine. This here is the fifth house, which is a trine. And this is the ninth house, which is a trine. So it makes it easy to see the angles. And then second, third, 12th, 11th, 6th, and 8th, these are more hidden houses. They're not as obvious. These are more obvious, the more active aspects of our life. The trines are the supports, so these help to support the activity of our life. Again, the middle diamonds being the main activity that we take in life. And then the things that happen more, not on the side, but are less evident when you meet someone. They would be reflected in these other houses, which are not supports, but they are other areas of life that might not be so appreciated when you first meet someone, or so obvious. Okay. So again, to reiterate, this is always the first house within this particular chart, the North Indian chart. It is the signs that change. We read this North Indian chart counterclockwise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those are the houses. Looking at the South Indian, which is different, the signs are always in the same place, always in the same box. But what changes now are how we see the houses. So this indicates the lagna, the ascendant or the first house. And then we count clockwise around to determine what those houses are. Okay, so this is how you read, get a general sense of the birth chart. So we can see where the planets are. Here we have Moon, Ketu in the 4th, Jupiter in the 6th, Mars in the 8th, Sun, Saturn, Rahu, and Mercury in the 10th. And all that means something. So once you know where they are and how to read the chart, then once you understand what the planets are doing in particular houses and particular signs, you can make an assessment. Okay, so we'll be moving on to the importance of the Sun, the Moon, and the Ascendant next.